George, Meatball George, how you doing today?
Brother Meatball John, how you doing, my friend? I'm fine over here.
Good, that's fantastic. So listen, we have to talk. I don't know, have we done a video since the Bills training camp started?
No.
Okay, so this is our first one.
Mhm.
And today, unfortunately, there was an injury. And I know you and I were paying attention to all the people tweeting and stuff, and the radio trying to get information on Micah Hyde.
Well, the Micah Hyde injury, and we can talk about that. We should. But there's other injuries too that I really haven't caught, Like, did you know that Crowder hasn't practiced at all yet?
Yes.
Crowder hasn't practiced, so they're using McKenzie, and they're talking about, you're gone from your picture, by the way. They're gone from, are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay.
I will try to fix the problem.
All right. So McKenzie apparently has been playing extremely well. And if you remember, I think a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about how McKenzie was the odd man out in the receiving room. And because I was feeling so strong about Crowder, but the guy hasn't even practiced once.
Not one. No.
And
he participated a little bit on day one, and then hasn't done a thing since.
And apparently McKenzie has been just playing extremely well out of that slot position. So good from Isaiah McKenzie. And Crowder, I like the guy, but I think you told me when he first came over, he had a tendency for injuries. If he can't even practice, and I'm not picking on the guy, I don't mean to. If he's injured, he's injured. But I mean, to me, that's like, if you can't practice coming out of the gate, and I don't hear anybody telling us what it is or when they're projecting him, I think he might be the odd man out.
He goes in every day and he walks on the sideline. I don't know what the hell is going on there. Yeah, I hear you. Now, what also I've heard with McKenzie is that he has only taken snaps with the first string. And only Allen has been throwing in passes. When the other guys are getting reps, Barkley and what's his name, Case Keenum, they're throwing to other guys. McKenzie's getting reps with Josh.
And another one that I was feeling very strong about when they picked him up was Tavon Austin, because I'm thinking he's going to be the return guy. Well, that's still possible, but he has not taken any reps other than with the third stringers and fourth stringers. He hasn't taken any with the first or second stringers. So at the very most, Tavon Austin is the punt return guy. Right. Because if they decide that they need McKenzie as a regular slot receiver, they're not going to risk him in the punt return and kickoff game. But they might use Tavon Austin, and it might be between Marquez Stevenson and Tavon Austin for a roster spot.
That could be, yeah.
And Shakir, I've heard that he's made some great catches, and I've heard he's dropped some too.
Yeah, all right, that's right.
Now, tomorrow is what they call a thump day, where they put the pads on.
Oh, that sounds like fun. They make it sound like fun, but I don't think it's all that much fun in practicing in pads.
And then I think it was Buffalo Plus I was watching, they talked about how when Allen got rolled over by
Oliver,
that McDermott finally said that's enough. The competition, it's good to have competition and strength and steel, but he doesn't want the injuries.
Well, listen, Brown hasn't taken a snap yet. He's there. He's doing the walkthrough part. but he has not taken a snap from what I
Right.
understand.
Right.
Tim Settle is out because of the car accident. Kevin Bates went into camp banged up. He is only doing drills, some drills. He's not working out with the other guys. Like he's not going out there and taking reps.
Okay. I got something to say on that. Now, we don't know what's wrong with, I don't know what's wrong with Brown. Why is he practicing but not taking any snaps? I don't know. Is he afraid to get run over by Von Miller? Or?
I think he had surgery in the offseason and he's recovering from that.
Well, that's not looking good. I got to tell you, I don't know if you heard it about the Kansas City Chiefs.
No, what's going on?
But their right guard, who is Orlando Brown. Brown was a right guard for Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, sure.
He went to Kansas City as their right guard. And he said to Kansas City, you know what? Screw this. I want to be the left guard because the left guard makes all the money.
Really?
And they said, well, no, you're our right guard. So he has not shown up to camp.
No, I hadn't heard that.
And I'm wondering if that could be an opportunity for the Bills, or if they'd be biting off something that they don't want, because on the Bills, he'd probably be playing right guard. We got Dean Dawkins on the left side, right?
No,
And,
Dawkins is a tackle.
No. Who's the guard? I'm sorry. I meant tackle, John. All the time I'm saying guard.
Okay.
I meant tackle the whole
Yes, left tackles make considerably more. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he wants to be a left tackle, Orlando Brown, and not a right tackle. And if we got some issues with Spencer Brown, it'd be nice to have a guy like Orlando to come in and fill that hole.
But he don't want to be a right tackle.
I know. So
he doesn't want to do it for Kansas City. Why would he want to do it for Buffalo?
And are you going to move Dawkins over to the right side just to make Orlando happy?
No, because you're just bringing in trouble.
Because he's going to want to get paid like a left tackle.
And you're just bringing in trouble to your locker room.
Yeah.
You'd have to be in some mighty dire straits to be, so I think there'd be other options for that.
So the days where I'm seeing that the offense is doing good and the offense is doing bad, they're piecing together an offense. Bless you. They're piecing together an offensive line.
Yeah.
And the defense is so dominant now they're dominant against second stringers.
Oh, and third stringers.
So, but if they weren't dominant against second, thirds, I'd be concerned. But they're so dominant against second and thirds. Maybe that's a good sign for us on the defensive line.
I feel like now that we're in camp, I am just as excited as everybody else about Von Miller. But for me, the line as a whole to be an improved line, they went out and got Von Miller. For there to be improved production, some of the kids are going to have to step up.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have Mario Addison. They don't have Jerry Hughes. Now that's fine because you figure you got Von Miller on one side. They went out and got Shaq Lawson, who between the time he left here and came back became a journeyman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It was a first round pick. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option. They let him walk. He did a full circle of like 3 teams before he came back here. What they're going to need, Rousseau or Boogie Basham or Epineza, or either one of them's got to take a big step forward, or together they'll all have to take some kind of move forward for the overall production of the line to be improved. The defensive tackles that they got look great. I think they're having a great camp, and that's fine. But the defensive end, Von Miller can only play one side.
Yeah.
The other side is either going to be a weakness, or these kids are going to have to step up. And we'll see if they do. Like, Brandon Beane's job is not on the line. But I think he took a little gamble here. He's got he got a future Hall of Famer, and then he's gambling that the kids, I'm calling them the kids, are going to have enough improvement to be able to hold their own, or maybe even add to
outside of Shaq Lawson, the only other veterans you have is like Epinesa, and he's what, 3 years?
It's his third year, and he's a veteran of the practice squad.
Right.
He's not, that's true, he was never on the practice squad. He's a veteran at being a healthy scratch.
And I heard today that Boogie Basham's wearing number 55.
Is he?
Yeah, so he's wearing Jerry Hughes's number.
Okay.
And
hope he plays like Jerry Hughes.
Yeah, me too. But apparently they're not seeing it yet. You know, like I said, I watched some Buffalo Plus. They said they saw a little bit from Epinesa, but they haven't really seen anything impressive out of Boogie Basham yet. And it didn't sound like they were seeing anything super impressive out of Rousseau. And they're piecing together their offensive line. This is where we were last year. And then and when you look at the cornerbacks, you got Trey White is doing a lot of work. They said he really looks great, even though he hasn't done any. He's working on his own. He hasn't worked with any other players besides him or against him yet. But he looks really good. He's not wearing a brace. He's doing high leg exercises, you know, with putting his knees up high, and he seems to be moving around pretty good, but he hasn't done any yet. They haven't seen him do any like crazy cuts yet with his knee. But the new cornerback, Elam, he and Diggs have been going at it, and the biggest problem is that he's holding. And so
yeah.
Diggs must have been schooling him on it, and he ended up putting on boxing gloves.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, to try and help himself from grabbing. They said that was one of his traits in college. He was grabby. Well, in the NFL, he's going to get a call for holding, pass interference.
Yeah, no, they'll put the pads on starting Saturday. I imagine that they'll probably bring the refs in.
They're going to bring refs in, not Saturday, but next week. Yeah.
And then we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's a rookie. He's got stuff to learn. As much as we're excited about him, you're going to have to deal with some rookie mistakes and rookie issues. And offensive pass interference is going to be one of them.
And Moss, apparently, he is just chiseled. He's in such good shape.
Yeah, but I don't care.
I don't care either.
Yeah. Listen,
I would ask you, why didn't he come into camp last year looking that way?
Yeah,
because now he's concerned about his job.
Because they drafted another running back. Yeah, I don't know.
They were talking about how smooth that Cook looks. The way he moves, they said he's fluid. Where like Singletary, you'll see him make cuts here and there, but when Cook is doing it, it's just like a smooth movement. He's very reminiscent of his brother, not as fast as his brother, but very reminiscent on the way he carries the ball. They're using him in the passing game. He did drop a pass. So we got to see. So I still think there's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like they got to figure out before game one, you got to figure out that offensive line. Yep. That has to be like, I would like to say defensive back is priority, but we didn't know Spencer Brown was going to come into camp and still be recovering from some sort of surgery.
Right.
You and I didn't know that. Kevin Bates, no. Ryan Bates, we didn't know he had some kind of injury that he was going to start camp with.
I didn't know that Crowder would.
Well, I don't know that Crowder had an injury when he started camp or not, because he did have one day. Day one.
Day one.
But on day one, he didn't take snaps. He took a lot of snaps at outside wide receiver. Yeah. And we thought that was interesting. And then we never saw him again. He hasn't done anything else. So tough.
That offensive
line worries me. Yeah.
OJ Howard, you nailed that guy. I mean, he's big. They want to use him. He drops the ball. He's had a number of drops already. So now it's like, well, he could be a blocker. Is he going to be a better blocker than Sweeney? Let's hope so. He's a lot bigger.
Yeah, look.
I was counting a lot on having two tight ends out there and both three being receiving threats, but it sounds like OJ Howard, no wonder Tampa didn't use him.
Yeah, I know he's only been in the league 4 years, but he's had a lot of injuries. He isn't the athlete that came out of Oklahoma. Oklahoma, right? He was a Sooner.
I don't remember. Yeah.
He's not the athlete that came out of college, and that's why Tampa let him walk, right?
That's in 4 years, and even less than that if he had problems after 2 years.
Yeah, he's still big, but like,
how could he forget how to catch?
Well, here's what.
He's got hands the size of catcher mitts.
When you look at them together, Knox looks like the athlete.
Yeah.
And now Howard can still do some stuff. He can still run a nice route, and he could probably get, I'm sure he can get into space. His hands hopefully will improve over the course of training camp. He has a history of being a pass catcher, so hopefully that will improve over time. And hopefully, like when he came out of college, he was supposed to be, yes, he was a threat in the receiving game, but he was also a blocking tight end. He did it all in college. So if he could still block, that will be an asset to the team. But he's not adding another dimension to the passing game.
Well, it's got to lead you down the road that a tight end's got to be a future draft pick.
Well, we don't know what they're going to do at Knox. Like he's going into his last year. They could sign him. They could give him an extension. I think you're saying they still need depth though behind him. Right. Okay. Well, that's true. Did they not? Yeah, I don't know why. I felt like they did have they drafted another tight end either last year or this year, late in there. But I don't know whatever happened to the guy besides Tiny Sweeney.
Well, they had that Gilliam who could be a fullback or tight end. But you have a reliable guy that you can put in the tight end spot that can catch. If Dawson Knox goes down, you got to have a reliable receiver out there.
Yeah, the Bills do, because they're really depending on, they really do use a tight end quite a bit.
Yeah, and you're not going to put a short wide receiver like Shakir out there and say that's our tight end now.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, so luckily they've got Knox, and knock on wood, he's healthy this year, and they'll figure out the rest as they go. Like they'll have to figure out next year. The one thing that I think that I hope that they don't really regret, we already talked about this once, not this past draft, in the draft previous to this one, in the second round, they took Boogie Basham. And offensive linemen were on the board. Creed was still on the board. And they let that spot go. And instead of having Dawkins, Morris, and Creed, and then now you're starting to worry about, and then you got to deal with, well, they got to go out and get a free agent guard in Seifert.
Yeah.
Right? They had to go out and get a free agent guard because they still don't have anyone for that spot.
And isn't he like 34, 35 years old?
Yeah, he's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
They can't really predict the kind of, I'm sure that they were aware that Brown was going to have a surgery, but they probably did anticipate that he would have a full recovery, and he might be ready for week 1, but I sure wish he were better now. And I don't think and I'm beginning to worry that Ryan Bates hasn't really locked up the other guard spot, and that they're searching for somebody. That there is an ongoing competition, and nobody's stepping up and nobody's winning it. Now, next week they go into pads and things could look a little different. Guys could get healthy. Things could shape up that way, but I hope they really don't come to regret picking Boogie Basham instead of a guard last year in the draft in the second round, because that guard spot could be locked up right now.
Well,
and now they're still looking for 2.
It almost makes you wonder if they didn't know if they wanted Rousseau or Basham, so they just took them both and figure, well, one will work out.
Well,
and they never had a dream that they were going to get Von Miller.
Right, and I kind of, I hear you, but I think they were looking at Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison, and the fact that they were thinking that last year was going to be the last year for both of them, and they wanted to move on. And they picked their 2 replacements.
Yeah,
okay. Panazza wasn't working out. They picked their 2 replacements, and that's who we got now. And that is exactly what we got. They went out and got Shaq Lawson as some kind of insurance policy, and to help take snaps, help eat up snaps in the training camp and in the preseason games.
And you got Jordan Phillips on the middle of the line.
Right.
And I think that's really helping Ed Oliver.
Well, you know what? It could, and that's fine.
I got no problem if they collapse. I got no problem if they collapse the pocket from the inside, and guys like Phillips and Ed Oliver are getting the sacks.
Well, Oliver had a really good year last year, so hopefully that'll continue. Phillips was so good that nobody else signed him, so we got him. Like, I don't know if we went out and got him, because we didn't pay big money for him. They brought him in, and they're happy to have him, and we're all happy to have him because we remember how he played here a couple years ago. But the Cardinals let him walk, and it's not like they don't need help.
Well,
so they picked up. He's become. I don't know if he's if he's really going to give us quality minutes, or if he's kind of taking up. If he's just another guy.
With everything we're saying, you got to say to yourself, how could they be the favorites for the Super Bowl?
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Josh Allen. They played a game. They didn't punt against New England.
Yeah.
And in the second half of that Kansas City game, he really played phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's your answer, right? If
And the second half of the Tampa game too.
Sure. Nobody wants to focus on how we played against Atlanta, how the offense played against Atlanta and Carolina at the end of the season last year, because that's not the last thing that we remember.
Or the Steelers at the beginning.
Yep. Oh,
We came out with a shaky offensive line, and they kicked our ass.
They kicked their ass. And if this line doesn't shape up by week 1, that Rams front line is gonna kick some ass.
You're gonna have to go to LA and play the Rams at home. And there's nothing wrong with Matt Stafford as a quarterback.
Days does just fine. He did just fine in the Super Bowl, didn't
he? If he yanks 24 on the Bills and the Bills have a shaky offensive line, how are we going to get 24? We've seen that. And that's when Allen starts running around, he gets sacked for 32 yards, or he's throwing over everybody's head. I mean, we've seen those games.
So hopefully that training camp is only a week old. It's only 5 days old. Hopefully things over the next 2 weeks. They've got another week at St. John Fisher University. Right, they got another week there. I think their first preseason game is 2 weeks from tonight. No, in that range. It's about 10 to 11 days, maybe 10 to 14 days away. So they've got some time for guys to heal up, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm hoping that they're not regretting some of the choices they've made.
Well, if I want to hear some information, it's like we got these injuries, and they're not bad news, you hear that. But when it's bad news, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you anything.
That is true.
And we're not hearing a start date we're not hearing a goddamn thing about Trey White.
Nope.
We're not hearing a darn thing about Spencer Brown. I'm not hearing a darn thing about Jamison Crowder.
Nope.
And when you have that, and it was Saffold, you said, right? So you got two offensive linemen, and
both on the same side of the line.
Yeah, right. That whole side of the line. Who are you going to put in? I mean, you're talking Cody Ford.
They got a fella. It's not Quisenberry.
Yeah, they got Quisenberry.
All right, so I think he's been getting a lot of reps right now.
Yeah, he's like 82 years old, and we're hearing about how Von Miller's just demolishing the line. So Quisenberry is so old that I think my father used to watch him play. Your father.
Him 60s. And Dad went to school together.
They went to school together. They're on the same bus route. Yeah. So, and even if you start here, we picked up this guy, where'd you pick him up from?
Yeah, right now, with every team having 90-man rosters, you can't imagine that anybody that's not on a roster could really help you. With a few exceptions. Like I know Joe Hayden is sitting out there, never signed. There may be a player, but I don't think you're finding offensive line answers for guys who aren't in training camp right now.
How many times do we watch Cody Ford at the line? And he looked like a rusty gate, just letting the guys through. Here, go kill my quarterback. Whoop.
Watch out!
Look out! Boom.
All right. Well, this was fun, George. We're almost out of time.
Okay. Well, I'm a little down after the first week. I want to say I'm up, but I'm hearing drop passes, Nope, these guys aren't practicing. The offensive line, we can't get them on the field together. And
Micah Hyde.
Micah Hyde injury, and we almost lost our quarterback.
Can you imagine Oliver rolls up on Allen's knee? Holy smokes, that would not be good.
Mhm.
He's wearing the red shirt.
Yeah, but he didn't have red sneakers on.
Oh my gosh.
But there's so much. They're both sides are trying to win so bad on the lines that they didn't pay attention to the quarterback.
Oh, all right. You have yourself a good night. We'll keep watching.
I think I'll have a nice gin and tonic right now.
All right, it sounds good. Maybe I'll make
I'll
one for
wash down
myself.
my donut.
All right. For those of you at home, we are not recommending gin and tonics with donuts. Let's get that straight.
That's right. You should drink your
We
gin and
never
tonics
recommend
on
that.
their own.
That's right.
Have your
Have a good
donuts with
night,
coffee.
everyone.
All right. Bye, John.
Bye.